My name is Lacey Troiani. I am a student at the University of West Alabama. I am a teacher. I'm a third grade teacher. I teach math, science, and social studies in a very small town in northeast Alabama in a rural community that is very high in poverty. And I noticed a lot of my students struggled a whole lot with being able to work their way through a problem orally in front of their peers that they've been in the same classroom with since kindergarten. And a lot of these kids have been in and out and stuff with COVID and things, and this is their very first year being able to not have to wear masks and stuff in the classroom. So for most of them, it is their first normal year in a classroom. And I have seen them struggling a whole lot. So I decided to build a discourse classroom, and so far my results have been very good, but I'm going to show you where we initially started. So all of this is based on the standards for mathematical practice. I keep them posted in my classroom, and my students know about them and everything as well. So back in August, a couple of weeks after school started, my students took what is called an AIMS-Web Plus test. That is our formative assessment at my school. We do their number sense fluency, and we do concept application as well. So this right here is a snapshot of where my students were. This is where we were, but this is actually where I wanted them to be able to be. And we had a lot that was a little low. I actually ended up having a lot of students that were right here in the yellow, and a couple, but not very many, right here in this teal. And this teal is where you are far above average. This green is right here where we're doing perfectly fine with where we are actually at. So if I come down here, this is kind of where we are with our concept and applications. And as you can see, there are a lot of oranges and a lot of yellow on here, which means we are well below average in our classroom. And keep in mind that these are results that were from August. So this was one mistake that I do know that I did make. I should not have based my original paper on concept applications, because unfortunately we have not been able to take our winter test, which is what I was hoping my results were going to be. Instead, I will show you how our discourse classroom has actually helped with our number sense fluency instead, and I will show you guys that here in just a minute. But originally I was planning on doing it on the concept applications. That's what the CA right here is, and I was hoping to be able to get winter results back in on time, and unfortunately we've had to reschedule those for December, so I will not be able to get those in on time. So I did a survey with my students about the mathematical practices, and this is my way that I had actually introduced them to them. And just to kind of see what they felt comfortable doing, what they did not feel comfortable doing. And my main goal was to be able to get them comfortable actually talking about their work, being able to explain their thinking and understand others and everything. And unfortunately, that was one of the very lowest ones that they were wanting to do back in August. And I also asked them, how is it that you feel when you explain your process orally? And a lot of my students ended up not liking it, or they were just okay with it. And I have worked with my students since then, and these results are much better now. I'm able to tell just within my students, because we are much more open with our talking orally and be able to talk with one another. And I will show you kind of how we did that as well. So I'm just running through a little bit about the paper that I had done back in September. So I had done consent forms and stuff because I do actually have a few students who are on the spectrum and a few students that are special ed. I have about 5 altogether. We are high in English learners. It's a high poverty school with about, I would say about 40%, it's about 35 to 40% Hispanics in our school as well. Let's see. So this one was my consent form, and then obviously I had to have a minor one because they were only 3rd graders as well. So over here, so some of the things that I ended up doing in our classroom and my kids absolutely loved was on every Wednesday we became math detectives. And what that meant was any standard that we were currently working on, we would turn them into word problems, and we became math detectives. And my students absolutely love knowing what we were doing that day. I think that gave them a sense of comfort. And we would get out our magnifying glasses, just like you see here, and we would highlight certain words in them, and we would talk about them and why those key words were making us multiply or divide or add and subtract. And that was giving us opportunities to be able to talk about those things aloud as well. So this is one of my boards that's in my classroom. So we talked about exactly what a good listener is, that we keep our body facing, our lips are closed, we're looking at the speaker with our eyes. And so we are constantly being able to look at the people who are sitting there talking rather than just interrupting everybody. And I gave them the sentence strips for being able to help them when they did agree with somebody, or if they disagreed, or if they wanted a little bit more about that equation that we were currently working on. So if they ever agree with something, I would make sure that you would say, I agree with so-and-so because of this, and then they would just go from there. And they've gotten to where now they look at these all by themselves instead of me having to direct them to this one. So let me show you the results of what it is, that I am seeing now, not only just in that, but just on their test results and stuff as well. So every 2 weeks we do monitoring, and this is where we were the very first time that we did our number sense. And these results are actually from the exact same test that we took in August. These are just number sense fluency instead of the other one. So you can kind of see here on this side how many orange and how many yellow that I have. And I do have a whole lot of green, which is perfectly fine. I like the green and things, and I do have a couple of teal as well. But looking at these colors here and comparing them to my results from just the 7th, because I didn't do it this past Friday, I kind of forgot, but I only have 1, 2, 3, 4 in the yellow, and I actually believe that most of those are actually my special ed students, and all the green and all of those teals now, which means that they are like 75 and higher. So just being able to sit there and talk about things, my students are getting a lot more comfortable in our classroom, and my test results and stuff are going up with their number sense fluency. And I'm hoping that once I get around to get around with December testing and stuff, that I'm able to see my concept application scores go up instead of just my number sense fluency. So that was something that I wish I would have done from the beginning, was just my number sense fluency, because that is something I do monitor all the time. I hope to be able to continue my discourse classroom.